Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Premier League predictions time. Mikey, as a Premier League connoisseur, this must be confusing for you. As a championship, well, I'm not going to call myself a connoisseur. As a championship pervert, I love a three-game week. You don't get very many three-game weeks in the Premier League. We've got one this week.
No, you don't. No, not a lot of Saturday, Tuesday in the Premier League. There was a little bit more during the COVID seasons, and then last year after the Winter World Cup. But yeah, I think this is the first set of midweek fixtures of this season. And yeah, it's of course it's in December where there's just games every day. It seems all of these ones are available to watch on Amazon Prime as well. So there'll be big TV audiences for maybe some more than others.
Interesting, very, very interesting. And I will be at Luton versus Arsenal tomorrow night as we're recording, which I'm very excited about. I'm just humming the Champions League theme tune in my head as the reason why there's never any three-game Premier League weeks. But so what we're doing, guys, we are going to predict the midweek round, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We had a chat and decided there'd be more value in that because if we did the weekend, we'd have to do that on Friday after the Thursday game. So should we get right into it, Mikey? By the way, interesting results from last week's prediction, which we will reveal at the end of the show. Let's start with one of those that threw up an interesting response from me anyway. And Burnley, who got a win finally, Mikey. Wolves versus Burnley on Tuesday night. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, they finally did it, Ben. We were wondering if it was ever going to happen. A Premier League win at Turf Moor for Burnley. They hadn't picked up a single point before that one, but they've played probably better than a lot of their results suggest. I could see them having a lot more confidence coming into this game off the back of that. I expect them to go at Wolves, play quite attacking football. Wolves have had a little bit of a dip in form. They always seem to score at home. Hwang Hee-chan is still banging them in for fun at Wolves.
Bang Hee-chan.
Yeah, I think Burnley will kick on after that 5-0 win, especially as they have such a good recent record against Wolves. They've lost just one of their last 12 against them. But I think this one is going to be a draw. I'm going for a 1-1 here. I think Wolves are a decent side. They're just going through a little bit of a dip in form.
I was going to go for a draw as well, but I'm going to do that thing where I immediately change my prediction based on what you've said. So, a more fun narrative. Just looking, Wolves have struggled in the last 4 games, as we were just discussing before we came on air. So, shall I go for a Burnley back-to-back, having not won forever? Let's go for them. I'm going to add 1 goal onto your prediction, Mikey, and make it Wolves 1, Burnley 2. How about that, being as I didn't completely butcher the Burnley prediction last round? And here we go. Lots of goals in this one, please, because I'm going Luton versus Arsenal, Mikey.
Yeah, I'm really jealous of you going to this one, Ben. That is going to be a special night at Kenilworth Road, an 8:15 kickoff, so a bit of a late one, but plenty of time in the pubs beforehand. This is the first time that Arsenal have played at Luton in any competition since 1991, Ben.
Wow.
I was 7 months old at the time. Luton won that game 1-0. So you get pretty good odds of a repeat of that scoreline. And I'm hoping you're going to be romantic and go for a Luton win. Arsenal haven't won at Kenilworth Road. Obviously, this is ancient history, but they haven't won at Kenilworth Road in any of their last 10 visits. So something of a bogey ground for them.
The pitch isn't plastic anymore, Mikey.
Yeah, there is that. I think that Arsenal might have a little bit too much for Luton. I don't think they'll like the surroundings and how tight the pitch feels and all of that. But I think their class will show. Saka and Odegaard both scored at the weekend. I think they're starting to purr again for Arsenal. And with that game against Aston Villa coming up at the weekend, Arsenal need to win this one basically to ensure that they stay top.
And you were at that game at the weekend, right?
Yeah, I'm at Villa Arsenal, and I mean, spoiler alert: if we do end up doing predictions for this one, I quite fancy Villa to win that one. But I think that Arsenal will win at Luton fairly comfortably.
Give me a scoreline.
I go for 3-1 on this one.
3-1. So I want to go for the romantic Luton prediction. I won't go all in. A draw. Is that romantic enough?
Yeah, that's pretty romantic, Ben.
Let's go for some silliness. Let's go for Luton to take the lead. Then Arsenal will probably school them and go 2-1 up. And then Luton are going to pillage some kind of equaliser at the end. I'm going to go for an unlikely Desmond. And check out the vlog on Wednesday at some point if I get out of Luton Arsenal alive after an 8:15 kickoff. Brighton versus Brentford. The derby of the two teams that everybody wants their team to recruit like if they're in the Championship, yeah?
Yeah. Very, very much so. Two admirable clubs, upwardly mobile clubs with really good, impressive coaches as well. They both play different styles of football, but are impressive in their own way. As you know, Ben, I've been expecting Brighton to click back into gear ever since I started doing these predictions, and it hasn't really quite happened. They won at Forest, but then followed that up with a defeat at Chelsea. They conceded some pretty poor goals in that game. I think it was quite obvious that they're missing Lewis Dunk. He's also suspended for this game, which Brentford will be pleased about. But after they impressively swept aside Luton at home last week, Christian Norgard got his 5th yellow card of the season, so he'll be missing. So that's a key player on both teams that won't be playing. Brentford have really struggled away from London this season and the back end of last season. So I think Brighton are going to edge them here. Surprise, surprise, Ben. I'm going for another Brighton win. I'm going to say 2-1 to Brighton. João Pedro to score.
Oh, he's gone for it. Score. Did you see that stat that João Pedro has 15 goals in the 55th minute in his career or something ridiculous like that? So I'm going to up the ante. Nuts. I'm going to add to Mikey's prediction. João Pedro to score in a 2-1 win in the 55th minute will come his goal. Can Brentford get something? I'd like to think they can with my recent championship hat on. So I'll go for a draw. I know, spoiler alert, we're a bit draw heavy today, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'll go for a 1-1er and Brentford to return in the derby of the best traders, the Del Boy derby. They're hardly Del Boys, are they? Crystal Palace versus Bournemouth. If Mikey doesn't love Brighton, he definitely loves Palace.
Yeah. I'll probably be one of very few neutrals up and down the country choosing to watch the Crystal Palace game on midweek. They're both coming off the back of decent away draws. The Eagles have won their last 5 Premier League games against Bournemouth and have a fit and firing Michael Elise at last. Eza won't be fit for this one. They do have quite a few injuries. Czech Decore is going to be missing for the rest of the season, and he really makes Palace tick in that midfield. So Jefferson Lerma has to play a little bit deeper for them. Palace haven't won at home. Palace haven't won at home since early September. They've got Liverpool at home on Saturday, so I feel like this would be a game that they really, really need to win if they're to start picking up a bit of momentum going into Christmas. And I think Roy Hodgson, he'll manage it this time. I think despite Bournemouth's excellent recent form, they don't like going to Crystal Palace. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Crystal Palace win.
2-1 Palace win. Right, on the basis, Mikey, I always get Bournemouth the wrong way round. If I back Bournemouth to do badly, they do well. If I back Bournemouth to do well, they do badly. I'm on a streak of backing Bournemouth to do badly. Easy for me to say with that tongue twister. So I'm going to go for them to get an away win. I always go low scoring when Roy the boy's in the dugout. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 away win to Bournemouth, which would upset that recent run you've been talking about, with absolutely no confidence of that happening whatsoever. And it is Fulham versus Nottingham Forest. I bloody love Steve Cooper, but he's under pressure again, isn't he?
Yeah, he does seem to be. I think we spoke about this last week, that Forest, although they're in a much better position than they were this time at this stage of last season, it does feel a little bit underwhelming, doesn't it? With like the team seemed to be trending upwards at the end of last season and at the start of this season. And they've got some good attacking talents, a lot of pace in that team, but they're just incredibly inconsistent, aren't they? This is 14th place, 15th, and two clubs who look too good to get relegated, that's for sure. But they don't look good enough to be top half at the moment. Fulham Forest are leaking goals and don't have a good recent record against Fulham. I think they're really well matched. I'm going for a 1-1 draw, but my prediction is that you will also be going for a draw, Ben.
You think I'm going to go 0-0 because it's Stevie Cooper again, don't you? I'm a bit worried about Forest and about Cooper. I think Fulham have had a few coin flips and been a bit unlucky recently, and certainly gave Liverpool a really good game at the weekend. We both expected that to be a bit more of a squash than it actually was. So I'm going to back Fulham, and I don't think Forest are going to score. So I'm going to go Fulham 2, Forest 0. Now, you might see a YouTuber with millions of subscribers and views a week driving a Bentley. It's a bit more modest, I have to say, when you're covering the Championship. So if you can find a few quid each month to support over on Patreon or by hitting the join button here, you are making the world of difference for myself, Shaylee, and Enid. We're going to move on to talk about Sheffield United. So let's completely just destroy the fourth wall here. It's 2:00 on Monday. We're assuming by the time you watch this, Paul Heckingbottom isn't going to be the Sheffield United manager, and Chris Wilder may well be the Sheffield United manager. This does not smell good to me at all, bearing in mind this side lost 8-0 at home to Newcastle, who are lower in the league than Liverpool. I don't like the look of this. I love Chris Wilder first time around at Sheffield United. It doesn't feel like he's the same manager, and I feel a bit sorry for Heck because, you know, what else was he supposed to do with embargoes? Got them promoted, and okay, they lost 5-0 to the bottom of the league. But who can do better? Well, you're about to tell me.
Well, their last season in the Premier League, Ben, it started with Chris Wilder and it ended with Paul Heckingbottom in relegation.
Yeah, right.
This time, it looks like it's going to start with Paul Heckingbottom, end with Chris Wilder, and ultimately end in relegation. I feel like this is not an easy game for a caretaker manager, let's face it, but it's a little bit of a free hit, and I imagine it's going to be damage limitation, and they're going to sit really deep. And Liverpool like to play on the counter-attack, so I think by virtue of how deep I expect Sheffield United to sit in this game, whoever's managing them, I think they'll be able to limit Liverpool a little bit. The Reds obviously leaked a few goals against Fulham, but I can't see Sheffield United scoring against them, especially with Ollie McBurney suspended for this one. I'm going to go for 3-0 to Liverpool.
I am going to go for exactly the same thing. I was thinking 3-0. Like you say, if it's literally, I mean, if he's gone in there today, perhaps, and there's going to be an announcement. I know it's not like a new manager going in; it's literally his club, isn't it? But I don't know. I just don't like the feel of it, and I think they could get eaten alive. I'd love to be wrong, but if they were just bringing in a completely different manager who had a bit of, you know, I was there when he first went back with Middlesbrough, Wilder, and I don't know, it was a bit of a weird reception. Let's just put it that way. So I'm not entirely sure how this will go, assuming it goes as we're expecting. We don't yet know, but there's been
will there be overlapping centre backs, do you think, Ben, against Liverpool?
All of them. You know, 18 overlapping centre backs, they're overlapping the overlaps. It's going to be that good. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a lot of that again, won't we? Right, I love this fixture, Mikey. Aston Villa versus Man City.
Yeah, this is tasty, isn't it? So Aston
really
Villa
tasty.
Come on, the Villa, on a run, Ben. Yeah, they're currently on a run of 13 home wins in a row, which is, I think,
13.
Yeah, so Unai Emery's managed to do it. I think if they win this one, then Unai Emery's managed to do something which Jose Mourinho and Arsene Wenger didn't manage to do, which is 14.
Is that including Euro games or just Premier League games?
I believe that is Premier League games. I probably should have come armed with that one. But yeah, they're in a fantastic run of form, and they're doing well in Europe as well. They're pretty much through to the next stage. Arsenal were the last team to win at Villa Park back in February, I think it was, with that goal
really
that came back off the... Yeah, Jorginho hit shot came off the back of the goalkeeper.
Yeah, I remember.
City, incredibly, have only won 3 of their last 8 games in the league, but are still somehow just 3 points off the top. They very rarely go more than 3 games without a win. Villa are also, if you look at historically, they're winless in 13 games against Man City. It's been over 10 years since they last beat them, but they're a much better team now than they have been during that time. I think Villa's winning streak ends here, but I don't know why. But I just think I quite fancy them to get a draw, because I think the emotion of that Tottenham game for Man City will have taken quite a lot out of them. Villa obviously have a bit of momentum. They scored a late equaliser in that 2-2 draw at the weekend. So I expect Villa to not only draw against Man City, but then follow it up with a win against Arsenal, as I said earlier on. I'm going for Aston Villa 2, Man City 2, another bonkers game.
Well, I've got to go on Villa then, haven't I? Someone's got to do it. I'll go for the romance, as Christopher would say when he's rhyming it with "Never seen so many men wanted to dance," or whatever the lyric of Lady in Red is. Man City are going to score, aren't they, Mikey?
Yeah,
they always score. So I'd better go both teams to score. Nice, loud, raucous Villa Park. Let's go Villa 2, Man City 1. I would love to see that. I'm doing this with my heart rather than my head today, aren't I? Yeah. Right. Are we going to double up away win here? Man United versus Chelsea. Man United were rubbish against Newcastle.
Yeah, they were. And just as it looked like they were starting to get rolling again, that win at Everton was one of their better performances of the season. Then they go and throw away a lead at Galatasaray and then just barely muster anything against Newcastle. If Brighton v Brentford is the battle of the two teams that are really showing how it should be done for the non-parachute championship teams, then I think Chelsea and Manchester United are maybe an example of how not to do it at the elite end of
And
Premier
we're talking
League.
about Everton next, yeah?
Yeah. So it's been over 10 years. Again, this is another historical stat. It's been over 10 years since Chelsea won at Old Trafford in the league, which stood out to me because Manchester United haven't been amazing over the last 10 years. And Chelsea also, interestingly, have only won one of their last 10 midweek games. So they maybe don't like playing under floodlights or something like that. They're two underachieving teams, aren't they? Chelsea will be without Conor Gallagher, but Enzo Fernandez is finally off the mark. He's scored 2 goals against Brighton. Maybe he's going to become a bit of a talisman for them in midfield. Again, I'm going for a draw in this one just because I don't particularly rate either team at the moment. I think this one will end 1-1.
I've written down 2 words while you were talking: Gavin and Peacock. Do you remember in the 90s when no one could beat Man United at Old Trafford and Chelsea would turn up and Gavin Peacock would score and they would win? I think Danny Murphy was the same actually for Liverpool at Old
Danny
Trafford.
Murphy, yeah.
I want the carnage, Mikey. I want an away win here just because it will amuse me, the whole meltdown. That's very Schadenfreudist of me, isn't it? So I'll go for Man United 0, Chelsea 2. Maybe they'll take the lead and score the second on the counter-attack, and we'll see the Old Trafford attendance drop by 80% as the ball's hitting the net and everybody goes home. Man United 0.
That will go down well, won't it, Ben?
It'll amuse me from a distance. Nothing against Man United fans. Great club, but what are you going to do? Man United 0, Chelsea 2. Right. I'm struggling with this one already. Everton versus Newcastle, who you would say are both in form, yeah?
Yeah, I'd say that they are. I successfully predicted that Everton would win at Forest, and it was a real Sean Dyche special, wasn't it? A pretty ugly but effective 1-0 win for the Toffees. They don't have a good recent record against Newcastle. They lost 5 of their last 6, including a 4-1 thumping at Goodison last season. That was when Newcastle were really hitting their stride at the back end of last season. But Newcastle's injury list just continues to grow, Ben. Nick Pope will be out for a few weeks, and Anthony Gordon is also doubtful for this one.
Oh.
So they're really reliant on Isak. He might play. And obviously it's his return to Goodison Park as well, where he's not particularly popular amongst the home fans. I think Everton will sit really deep. I imagine he probably would. He's that type of guy, isn't he? I expect Everton to sit really deep and try and absorb the pressure and then try and nick one from a set piece. I can't see them keeping another clean sheet, though, not against Newcastle, who despite all these injuries, just seems to be able to be really competitive in every game at the very least. It feels boring going for another draw, Ben, but I've gone for 1-1 again here. I think Everton will be happy with a point, and I think Newcastle, with the position that they're in, and they're winning their home games, they'll probably be happy with a draw at Everton, won't they?
You've got to do what you've got to do. So what I'm going to say is, if Anthony Gordon plays, Newcastle will win. But I'm going to guess that he's not going to play from what you've said. In which case, I've got to go for an Everton win because it's funny. And the only way Everton are going to win is 1-0, isn't it? So I'm going to go for a clean sheet. Probably, I don't know, Newcastle will have 25 shots and not score. And 1-0 Everton, which leads us...
Tarkowski header or something.
Thank you very much. Did you see Vizza, the Burnley YouTuber, before Burnley played Everton, put McNeil assist, Tarkowski goal, and it's exactly like the best tweet of the year, that one. And then just cried for the rest of the day, bless him. Spurs versus West Ham United. Bit of a clash of styles here. I've got to admit, I'm a bit of a fan of Spurs this season, I have to say. But what say you, Mikey?
Yeah, me too. It's with all the injuries and suspensions, it's just absolute chaos, isn't it? But
love it.
that draw at Man City was a fantastic result for him, and you just think that is going to put so much.
Sorry to interrupt. I left my in-laws at 2-1 in that game and expected it to end like 7-1 to Man City, and then I looked at my phone at the end; it was 3-3. So there's something there, isn't there? Carry on.
Yeah, we definitely didn't see that one coming, did we? But yeah, like I said, they'll have plenty of confidence. They've also got Sergio Romero back, so he'll improve them defensively. West Ham kind of playing without a recognised centre forward at the moment, with Mikel Antonio out injured. They've lost 9 of their last 10 London derbies away from home, and just to look a little bit tired after their European exploits. They weren't great against Crystal Palace, so they probably edged it and deserved to win. Even with the injuries that Spurs have, I expect them for this to be the game that they get their first win since all of these players started dropping like flies. I've got another entertaining one here. I've gone 3-1 to Tottenham.
I've gone for
like
exactly
West Ham's results are maybe... I think they've maybe been a little bit fortunate. They've come out well usually in the tight games. Obviously they didn't against Crystal Palace. They ended up drawing, but I think their luck will run out in this one at Spurs. I think it'll be another cracking atmosphere and a big win for Spurs.
I'm going to double you up then, Mikey, for the second time this show, because I promise you can wind back in the video. You see me write something down. I write down 3-1 at that point. Just finding Spurs a lot of fun. I think it is both teams to score, not on the basis of West Ham's attacking prowess, but the Spurs are just so bonkers and open. That is the predictions for the midweek round. Get yours in the comments down there. We look forward to reading all of those, as well as being held to account for our own, like we always are. Speaking of holding people to account, well done, Mikey. Very impressed with that. So 6 correct outcomes, and one of them, Bournemouth 2, Villa 2. You got Bob on, so a bit of a squash, a big win for you there. I only got 4 outcomes, so you're in the clear. Did you want to do any kind of gloating? I didn't gloat last week. I'm just saying that. So the floor's yours.
Well, after my first show, the performance there, what was it, 2 or 3 correct outcomes? I think we'll find out on this one whether I'm actually an expert or not, because obviously done poorly and then done pretty well. I guess these midweeks will separate the men from the boys.
I'm a wrestling fan, and the idea is that you big up your opponent, so when you beat them, you beat them. So I'm always going to bill you as an expert, because then I've either beaten an expert or I lost to an expert. I can't lose in that regard. Mikey, thank you so much for coming on. By the way, if people who are fans of our channel here, want to follow you on Twitter, what's the Twitter handle, Mikey?
It's at Mikey_Smith13.
At Mikey_Smith13. Have we got a 3-1 away? Like his prediction for Luton versus Arsenal. There we go. If you want to see more of me and Mikey and myself, Mikey and I We could maybe try and squeeze in something on Friday, but if enough people get in the comments and say they would like to see that, we will do that. If not, we will return at some point in the middle of next week. And I suppose will that be the last one? No, there'll be one more, or two more before it goes mad over Christmas. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Most important thing is you get your predictions in. Second most important thing is hit like and stick with the channel.